What is going on, everybody? It is Dylan with Astrodfs bringing you the Week 15 on DraftKings First Look. So this is for the main slate. We do have a 12-game slate, right? All the teams are back playing. So there is 2 Monday night games. That's why there's 12 and not 13. So let's get into it. So we have 3 quarterbacks above 8K. In a potential Super Bowl matchup, right? I think both teams are definitely contenders on both sides of the conference. We got Buffalo and Detroit. This one might be a really good game. We just saw Buffalo's defense get absolutely destroyed by Matt Stafford. And you're getting 2 of the best offenses in the league playing each other now. I do like Josh Allen's side. Hopefully that offense is only getting healthier, right? Keon Coleman's missed some time. Kincaid being banged up. So hopefully that offense gets healthier and we can have a really good matchup. So I do think it's very expensive to go there this week at 8,500. But with what Josh Allen just did last week with 54 DraftKings points with 6 total touchdowns, I mean, it is possible, right? But he is up there in price. He's getting really high up there. Lamar Jackson on the road against the Giants. I'm really not interested in him as much as probably Derrick Henry. Jalen Hurts at home against Pittsburgh. Just been disappointing. Granted, Pittsburgh, kind of good against a running back. Maybe this is a game where we see Jalen Hurts throw the ball more, and he always has the rushing touchdown upside. Jaden Daniels looks pretty good at 7,500 on the road against New Orleans. To where New Orleans is, their defense has been banged up, their offense is banged up. Not sure who the quarterback's going to be this week. So Jaden Daniels kind of is, out of these guys, for his price, he kind of looks like the best one for that top price. Obviously, Josh Allen is, but you're paying a very hefty price for him. Joe Burrow on the road against Tennessee. Yet again, I don't think you have to go Burrow this week. He is up there in price. He's just a fantasy machine. Clearly a fantasy machine, and he's paying off pretty much every week. So, yet again, I don't think you have to go there this week. Patrick Mahomes on the road against Cleveland. For his price point, I don't mind, but yet again, this is a guy that is just not hitting his ceiling in fantasy this season. So it's just too much of a risk there. Jared Goff 6,500 on the road or at home against Buffalo. This one seems really good. Obviously, I think I want to attack the run game of Detroit, so we'll see what the prices of Gibbs and Montgomery are. Baker on the road against the Chargers. I'm probably more interested in Herbert. Yeah, I'm definitely interested in Herbert in this one. Bo Nix at home against Indy. That one's a good price point for Bo Nix at home. This is a big game for both teams. Houston at home against Miami. This one is, Miami's defense has played better, but you just saw Aaron Rodgers, kind of destroy them. You get CJ Stroud, who is one of the better quarterbacks at home playing. So that one kind of interests me at 6,200. Tua on the same game on the road for 6,100. Tua's been playing some pretty good football lately, right? And his price isn't getting adjusted, right? Granted, he's had some easier opponents, but you go back and even look at Week 13 against Green Bay, and he still gets you 28 DraftKings points out of that one. So a tougher matchup, but still, that one could be a really good game. But going down here, I'm just going to go past Kyler. Justin Herbert at 5,900. If he's good to go, this one really stands out as a really good price, really good matchup. Hoping Ladd McConkey comes back. Hopefully Herbert is healthy. So that one kind of stands out. Anthony Richardson against Denver, not interested. Russ against Philly. As of right now, not interested. Drake May against Arizona, same thing. Drake May, for some of these games, Drake May is definitely paying off for his price point. Obviously, his last game he played against Indy, 20 points at 5.6 definitely pays off for you. Going down, Aaron Rodgers at 5,400 against Jacksonville. This one stands out as another good price point and good matchup. So, obviously, the Jets they're not playing for anything besides winning, right? And getting stats, trying to get contract money, trying to get the bonuses, whatever the bonuses are going to be, which we'll find out very shortly. Some incentives players have, but this one kind of stands out on the road. Rodgers at 5,400, kind of like the running game aside of that. Bryce Young at 5,300. I continue to mention Bryce Young is just, he's been playing some pretty damn good football against some very tough opponents. And Carolina is not just a walk in the park going this season. But I'm probably more interested in Chuba Hubbard in this one. Jake Haener, if he ends up being the starter at 5,100 at home against Washington, I'm not really loving it. Just too many injuries on that Saints offense. Mason Rudolph, this one is kind of interesting. If he is the starter versus Will Levis just is not doing it. He just is not. But Mason Rudolph, if he ends up being the starter, I mean, he's kind of paid off. If you look at his price point, doesn't really do it against Buffalo, but you face Detroit, New England, and at his price points, he pays off. Now, this is the most expensive he would be if he is the starter, right? Has to be the starter. And you know DeAndre Hopkins, you still have Calvin Ridley, Westbrook and Keeney. So it's not the greatest thing as it once was, but against Cincinnati's defense, who, I mean, you just saw Dallas put up 20 against them, so that one would be interesting. Drew Lock at 4,900. Yeah, I think he's more of a tournament play in my opinion. And that's kind of it, unless some injuries pop off during practice this week. Now going to running backs, 2 above 8K, we get Saquon drops down 400 at home against Pittsburgh. Derrick Henry 8,300 on the road against the Giants. This one is one to where I'm definitely considering going Derrick Henry in a lot of lineups, right? You've seen as of late, he's kind of fallen off compared to that little run he had here. But for the fantasy points, he's kind of fallen off. He's only hit 100 yards in one of those games and has not scored a touchdown in the last 2. So this definitely seems like a really good bounce back game for Derrick Henry at his price point, 8,300. Continuing to go down, Joe Mixon, 7,800, I think is a good price, good matchup versus Miami. Kamara, I don't know. I don't know how many more chances I can give Kamara with good games, right? Against the Rams, gets 100 yards, but doesn't pay off for 7,700 price tag. Has one of the best matchups you can have, and 2.6 yards a carry against the Giants defense, which is telling me the Saints offensive line is just very bad. And if Alvin Kamara is not getting any receiving work, he's not paying off, right? And guess what? Kendre Miller scores a touchdown and not Alvin Kamara. It blew my mind. It's a good opportunity for Kamara. I just don't know how many more times you could trust him in cash. Detroit running backs, we get Gibbs at 7,500, Montgomery at 7K. So they're getting pretty close to a coin flip. And I mean, David Montgomery for his price points compared to Gibbs, I mean, look at Gibbs and the numbers he's put out, and like it kind of seems Montgomery's the better choice, especially per price point. If you could combine them, yeah, these guys would be killing it, but you can't. And if you want to take that coin flip, you can go for it. I think both have a good matchup, good opportunities there. Continue to go down. Taylor, Cook, they don't interest me. Tony Pollard goes up in price. Otherwise, he would be an interesting play. James Conner at home against New England. I like that matchup, like his price point. Chuba Hubbard at 6,500 at home against Dallas with Jonathan Brooks, unfortunately re-tearing his ACL. I hope he comes back. I hope he does. But Chuba Hubbard's the guy again at 6,500 at home. Definitely stands out. Would watch the injury status of Breece Hall. If Breece Hall is out, we'll end up seeing the price of Braylon Allen and Isaiah Davis. But it's a good matchup for Jets running backs. Brian Robinson Jr. at 6,200 with Eckler. Eckler's on the IR, right? Yep. So Brian Robinson Jr. also stands out as a really good matchup. Game script for him at 6,200. Rico Dowdle at 6,100 against Carolina. I think going both running backs in that game is very doable. So at 6,100, Rico Dowdle's in a good matchup there. Continue to go down. Isaiah Pacheco, not really interested with how the running backs are in Kansas City. Najee, not really interested against Philly. Ramondre Stevenson, like, I would be interested in Ramondre Stevenson if the Patriots weren't as bad as they are in the red zone. So it's very hard for Ramondre to get the rushing touchdown. I mean, he's done okay, but I mean, he has to get a touchdown to pay off at this point. Gibson gets a good amount of work, so Stevenson would have to get a touchdown in that matchup to kind of pay off. Not really interested in any of these guys here. Rashard White, no. Tyron Tracy against Baltimore, no. Travis Etienne, no. Nick Chubb, definitely not against Kansas City. Jaylen Warren, I would play Jaylen Warren over Najee. Braylon Allen, if Breece Hall is out at 5,400, so you got that there. Javonte at 52, if you want to take that risk for a Denver running back, go for it. Isaiah Davis at 5K for the Jets if Breece Hall is out. And then you get some other names down here. Justice Hill at 4,800. Antonio Gibson at 4,900. And, nothing else really without injuries happening for us to consider any of those guys down there. Moving on to wide receiver, we get 3 wide receivers above 8K. Jamar Chase on the road against Tennessee. Yet again, I don't think you have to go there. Nico Collins at home against Miami. I'm okay with Nico Collins at 81. Granted, his price is up there, but I mean, it's pretty damn clear. Nico Collins is the guy in Houston. So, Tank Dell you could hope for, but hey, it's Nico Collins. Adrian Brown at home against Pittsburgh. Don't mind that one at all at 8K. Amon-Ra against Buffalo. Definitely don't mind that. His price is lower just because he's not paying off for fantasy this season. He needs to have, at his price point, he needs to have at least 25 points for him to pay off. But it is a good matchup. Very, maybe foreseeable game if Buffalo and Detroit end up in the Super Bowl. Tyreek Hill on the road against Houston. I think we're going to see more and more Tyreek Hill, right? I was very invested in him in tournaments last week, and he definitely paid off. I think we're going to see Tyreek Hill utilized even more as these games are very, very meaningful for Miami if they want to be in the playoffs. CeeDee Lamb, I'm not really interested in that one as well. Terry McLaurin, it's a good matchup for him. I just like the running game of it, but I think it's a good matchup for Terry McLaurin. Mike Evans, look, if you want a run back piece, Mike Evans at 7,100 is that. He's a good run back piece if you want to stack the Chargers. Devontae Adams, good matchup for him. Same thing. T. Higgins, don't really need to play him. George Pickens, don't really need to play him. Cortland Sutton, if you want to stack him with Bo Nix, I mean, it's a formula that is working, right? It's a formula that's definitely working, stacking these two guys together. So I don't have a problem if you want to go the Cortland Sutton, Bo Nix stack at all. Garrett Wilson, $400 cheaper than Devontae Adams. So I think that's a pretty damn good stack if you want to go Rodgers, Adams, and Wilson. I don't think it's priced high at all. Granted, if you go the Jets passing route, you're kind of fading the run, but with how the Jets handle the running backs, I think you can go either way. Malik Neighbors at home against Baltimore, the opportunity should be there for Malik Neighbors. It's a very good matchup against a Baltimore secondary that's gotten beat by a lot of people. But Malik Neighbors with Drew Lock versus Daniel Jones, I hate to say it, hasn't been as good. So, yet again, his price is very interesting, though, at 6,400. I'll say that. It's very interesting. We're really hoping Ladd McConkey comes back at 6,300 against Tampa Bay. That's a great stack piece there. Khalil Shakir's a great spot at 6,100 against Detroit. Going down, you could play Calvin Ridley. It's very risky, but you could play Calvin Ridley. I think that's fine there. Continue to go down. Jalen Waddle, a cheaper piece for Miami's offense down there. Jameson Williams, 5,600. I mean, if you're considering between Jameson and Amon-Ra for, it seems Jameson gets more consistently higher games than Amon-Ra, especially for the price point. But, against Buffalo, I don't know if I want to take that risk for Jameson this week and rather just go Amon-Ra or Laporta. Marvin Harrison continues to drop in price. We've seen him go all the way from 7,200 to start the season to now 5,500. They just do not want to. I don't know if they don't want to, or the connection's not there between him and Kyler or what, but he does not look like the wide receiver one, right? It still looks like Trey McBride is the number one target in Arizona. Devontae Smith, not really interested in. Thielen, I think, is a good piece to have at 5,400. I mean, he's just getting a lot of volume again. We saw it last year. We're seeing it again this year. Even in his first game back against Kansas City, 4 targets, 57 yards, 36-yard bomb. The last 2 weeks, he's gotten 21 targets. The receptions per target is really good too. And week 13, he was 1 yard away from getting that DraftKings 100-yard bonus as well. So Adam Thielen at 5,400, I think, is an amazing piece to add to your lineups this week. Amari Cooper on the road against Detroit. Yeah, I'm fine with that one as well. DeAndre Hopkins on the road against Cleveland. Yep, same thing. Good with that one as well. Continue to go down. Watch the injury status of Josh Downs. If he's out, I kind of like Michael Pittman. Continue to go down. Quentin Johnston is definitely worth watching if Ladd McConkey is out. Josh Palmer was also very much included as well. I was wrong about Westbrook Akine. I'll be the first to say it. 2 targets, 19 yards. Very low scoring game. I didn't think it was going to be that low scoring. I took the over, and man, that was probably one of the easiest unders this season. Keon Coleman, hoping he plays, just adds on to that Buffalo offense in that matchup. Wando Robinson at his price point, 4,600, definitely fine with that one. 11 targets last week against New Orleans, only 4 receptions out of them. Some kind of definitely bad balls to him. Josh Palmer, if Ladd McConkey's out, I mean, yeah, 13.8 at what? 4K. So, and that's a showdown price. So at 4,600, I'm fine with that price if Ladd McConkey is out. Valdez-Scantling at 4,500, yet again, it's got to be worth mentioning, but probably don't have Derek Carr. Demario Douglas is always a piece that's just going to get consistent points. It's just his price point is not the greatest for his kind of consistency he's had, right? Like, I think Demario Douglas is good, but I mean, he's just not getting, a high amount of yards or a high amount of receptions. Definitely not getting any touchdowns. So, if you want eight points and that's all you want out of him, go for it. But I don't think it's really worth taking anymore. Tim Patrick was on fire for Detroit at 4,300. Allen Lazard price pretty damn cheap. I mean, he gets one reception for 18 yards. It seemed like that was kind of the only snap he really got in, or was known. But in this one, getting another week's worth of practice included, I don't think is the worst thing there. Continue to go down. There's we're not getting a lot of love down here. Is all I'm trying to say. Usually we get some people that stand out, like maybe Juju on the road against Cleveland. McMillan kind of stood out at 3,700. But I mean, other than that, like we're not getting anybody super cheap. Hopefully Jalen Coker comes back at 3,700. That wouldn't be bad, but yeah, there's no one really down there. Tight ends only one at 6K. And then Trey McBride at home against New England, so definitely like that one. Travis Kelce 5,700 on the road against Cleveland. Definitely like that one. Njoku at home against Cleveland or against Kansas City. Kansas City's been very bad against tight ends, so definitely like Njoku at 5,200. Kind of stands out as the guy to really target as of right now. Yeah, a lot of tough matchups for tight ends. I mean, we're honestly like Detroit's played tight ends really good. Buffalo has played tight ends pretty damn good. The Chargers definitely have played tight ends well. The Jets always play tight ends well. Hunter Henry, I'm fine with Hunter Henry at 4,300. He just between if you include Austin Hooper and Hunter Henry, they're putting up some really good tight end numbers. But for his price points, he hasn't been disappointing, and he doesn't really go up. He goes up 100 from their last game, so 4,300 there. Mark Andrews, Isaiah Likely. It's tough against the Giants. They're also a defense that played tight ends really well. Jake Ferguson at 3,800. Kind of disappointed me last night. Just 6 targets, 3 of 32 for him in that one. But it's definitely a really good matchup against Carolina. Obviously, Will Dissly is going through some injury statuses, so we'll probably see where his backups are at. Calcaterra at 3,500, yet again, is interesting. Chig at 2,900. I mean, just Chig has just been not included. Like, you could obviously tell Callahan has been calling plays for Kansas City because Kansas City's had more tight end success than this year than recent years. But Chig is just not being included at all for an offense that can't get things going. And, defenses are focusing on, Calvin Ridley, Westbrook-Akine, whoever else they have running routes. Chig is just not getting targets at all. It's just not that he's not doing good. He's just not getting anything at all. So going down, Stone Smart at 2,600. But that's a huge risk as, I don't know if I want to go there. But for his price point, 2,600, you don't need a lot out of him, right? Obviously, at last week against Kansas City, a very bad defense against tight ends. Pays off for his price point, but that's a showdown game. And an actual slate goes up $100 at home. Like, it's not the worst thing, right? You don't need a lot out of him. You need 7-8 points. Daniel Bellinger is definitely worth noting against Baltimore as well. Looked at him with Drew Lock, 7 targets with Drew Lock. So it's clear the Giants with Drew Lock used tight ends more than Daniel Jones did or DeVito. So that one is one to watch as well. So you get 2 tight ends, honestly, that you could plug and play this week if you want to pay down at tight end. Otherwise, David Njoku, Travis Kelce kind of stand out as the other 2 tight ends, or the mid-price Jake Ferguson. So it's kind of what I'm looking at. Defenses, we'll just go down and look. Giants against Baltimore for probably the cheapest price you can get a defense this season at 2,100. Not really there. Browns against Kansas City, not really there. Titans against Cincinnati, maybe there. New England against Arizona. Man, tough. Carolina against Dallas at 2,700. But yeah, it's kind of tough. Maybe if Herbert's out, 2,600 Tampa, but I expect Herbert to play. So I think maybe going like Titans or New England and just go there. So that is it for this. Hope you guys did enjoy. If you did, please leave a like and subscribe. I will see you guys in the next one.